Folks, you never know when it's over here at PJNET. We are live, and we are fortunate to be joined by Cindy. Cindy, what's that Twitter handle? I can't see the screen behind me. Cindy Perez 48, something like that. You bet. Cindy, what a night we had tonight. This was not a planned event. This was just an organic outpouring of support for Ted Cruz, and you were a part of it. You were there. You know, what does this mean to you? I'm so busy, I don't know what it's like. What does it feel like to you to be a part of this?
Well, I feel like that I'm actually doing something for Ted. I mean, I tried to volunteer when it was the grassroots organization was getting together, to try to work on his campaign. Mm-hmm. And that just didn't really work out. And so, he doesn't come to Texas that often, and I don't have a whole lot of money to drive around and, follow him all over the United States like I wish I could. Mm-hmm. But, I just feel like this is a way for me to do something for Ted and to let everybody know how I feel about it, and get the word out. And, I'm just grateful that you came out on Twitter and found me when I first stumbled onto Twitter about a year ago. I just thought, well, what the heck, I know my kids are talking about Twitter, so I think I'll just go see what it's about. Mm-hmm. So, then you and several other people that were for Ted started, coming and following me, and I followed them back, and so it just kind of has grown from that. But, I'm grateful that you came out and, like I said, found me and, got me involved in this.
Well, you're a pretty good catch, Cindy, and I wish it were all.
Well, I try.
We reach out to a lot of people. I wish we had, if we had about, I don't know, 10, maybe 20 more Cindys. It totally blows me away, and I get frustrated because during the breaks, when they were breaking away, they were commenting a lot on Twitter, and that's encouraging because I believe that Twitter is the pulse of public opinion. I really do. But they were so far off. It's like, hello. And we are tracking Make America Great Again, which is the primary hashtag in the Trump campaign. And it was 2-1 tonight. 2-1.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I mean, people talk about how enthusiastic, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying that is the sole and total, center and circumference of the measurement of the Trump campaign or any other campaign for that matter. But I do know this. I do know that we started back in June, and there was a conference call that we were discussing what hashtag to embrace, and many good ones were proposed. But we settled on Cruise Crew. That was my favorite. Mm-hmm. And what we did is before we took any action at all, we tracked the Cruise Crew hashtag. In fact, if you go to the hashtag tracking, I don't know if all of you are intimately familiar with it, but there's an elevator scroller along the bottom, and you can drag that thing to the left and go all the way back to June. So before we did anything, we set a baseline saying, what is the Cruise Crew hashtag doing before we did anything? And it's doing you'll notice, about 500 tweets a day. Now, if you look at those 500 tweets a day, most of them were coming from one account. One account. Because we're not only concerned with the total number of tweets, we're concerned with head count. Movements are determined by head count. It's not about how many tweets one person can put out. It's about how many people put out tweets. It would be way better for 100 people to put out one tweet than one person to put out 100. Way better. Wow. So, I think we can pretty comfortably and confidently, without being arrogant, say that whatever this Cruise Crew hashtag is, was made right here by this group, this team. I shouldn't say group. It's a team. And the important thing is not the spikes. That's not the most important thing. That is what we focus on, just like the television focuses on the quarterback. Right. What's important is how is that hashtag performing between the spikes?
Oh, yeah.
That's what's important.
Well, I think it's pretty steady.
It's steadily going up. It's steadily going up.
Besides that, but it's, when we're not on here, and you've got a lot of people that do tweet, but they don't necessarily come into the chat room too.
That's correct, and we've been able to introduce some tools to make that easier and more effective, and we want to capture what it amazes me what can be done with a handful. I mean, 20 to 30 people, 40 people. We have tools to assess. In fact, I'll kind of walk you through it since we're family here. If you go to the hashtag tracking, okay, you see the blue bar for the individual day. If you click on that blue bar, it'll break it down per hour. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You're an old pro.
Well,
you can actually then break it down. You can click on the individual hour and see the darn tweets. I think that's way overkill. I do not encourage you to do that. But if you're on the screen that shows you by the hour, if you look right above the graph, it'll say rally participants. There's a link in there, and it will then enumerate every person that dispatched at least one featured tweet that day. And that's interesting because you'll find, you say, gee, there's only 20 people here. Well, actually, there's people that are not in the chat room that are very much participating. And we don't want to neglect or marginalize them because to the Twitter public, it's a tweet. It counts. Right. And by the way, on hashtag tracking, to qualify, to count as a Cruise Crew tweet, the tweet must have the Cruise Crew hashtag, and that is all. If the Cruise Crew hashtag occurs in there 4 times, that counts as 1. Mm-hmm. So you can't stack the deck, you can't stuff the ballot box, okay?
Well, that's good enough.
If I were interested in inflating the numbers, I would count each and every, individual, tweet when it appears multiple times. I'm not interested in deceiving myself or anybody else. I'm simply saying, here's how many tweets contained the Cruise Crew hashtag. And that's the only condition. So if it either has it or it does not. If it has it, it's incremented by 1. If it does not, it is not. That's it. Very simple. But it is fun to watch, and I'm just looking forward. Now, we will be doing this again tomorrow night. We normally do something else. Well, normally we do Cruise Crew on Monday evenings. That's when we have weekly. But we talked about it, and we thought with the debates tonight, we ought to have the Cruise Crew tweets mounted so that people could come here. But when I got in this evening and turned my computer on, I'm like, oh my gosh. I knew that might happen.
It, right?
Yeah, it's like, well, I guess we have to have a rally now. And thank God that Barbara, Sunbelt Girl, found that live feed from ABC, and that was directly from ABC, so it wasn't some hijacked, somebody screencasting it and throwing it up, but I will give I'm not in love with ABC News, but I will give them credit for something they did. When there was a break, while the television station was playing commercials, the live feed, they broke out to those, meaning I didn't like the content, but I liked the fact that they did something with that time. And, oh, by the way, I wanted to mention, it is possible now, for the first time, if you're having a cruise party, you know that if you so much as have a webcam that we can bring that party live to the room.
Oh, really?
Yes, we can.
That'd be cool.
We can. It is totally awesome. Did you know you don't even need a webcam? What you can actually do if you have a laptop, and if you have an iPhone, you can take that iPhone around the room, and that iPhone is now your camera.
Oh. Well, I'm not quite that advanced. Stunning what we can do, because we are literally forming Patriot Journalist Network, where we're going to take ordinary citizens like yourself, Cindy, and empower. In fact, during the daytime, we're now doing some programming that is good.
Well, if not good,
Oh, it's
it's
all
certainly
good.
better than it was. And what we want to do is empower people, and it's not going to be like talk radio where it's all about the host. That would be me. It's going to be about you, Cindy, you,
Oh,
and
wow.
and legions of other grassroots Tea Party evangelicals who simply want to have their voice heard, and heard in such a way that they think it maybe makes a difference.
Right. That would be really cool.
Have you ever felt like you're tweeting into thin air sometimes?
I did it first, but then when I hooked up with you guys, I don't feel that way anymore.
We don't want anybody to feel they're tweeting into thin air when they're teamed up with us. What makes this so different, and I can't do it. I can only ask you to do it, and you all are stepping up. Is we retweet each other, we build each other up, we follow each other, we help you get followers, we help you deal with trolls. We're strengthening the team from within, and it's not something that I can press a button here. It's because people are lining up because they feel like that our country needs to change, and it's in our hands.
Mm-hmm. Well, I truly think this is our last chance. I think the next person that gets in, if it's not Ted, then we're really going to be in a lot of trouble. I mean, people just don't realize. I mean, we might even lose some of our freedoms that we have right now because of all of this, Muslim infiltration that I feel is happening. And I mean, I see it around my neighborhood even. There's just certain areas where there are a lot of Muslim people that live there. And it's just kind of scary to think that, well, actually, I live close to Irving where they wanted to put in Sharia law.
Mm-hmm.
And, that just terrifies me. I mean, I just don't understand how people can just sit around and say, oh, well, it won't happen to me. It's not, they can't do that over here. This is the United States. Well, they tried over here, and thank goodness we had enough people in the Irving City Council that said no, that they weren't going to do it, that they wouldn't accept Sharia law here. So, I mean, people need to understand that this is very serious. It's, it's all great to have our team and be, one together, but we need to do something, because if we don't, we may not see it, but our children are going to see it, and it's going to be bad.
Well, I think we're seeing, the effects of, for so long, we trusted our politicians to be taking care of us. We just voted them in and somehow trusted that would do it. And I think we're reaping a bitter harvest of that now. But I also am encouraged that we are seeing an awakening of people like yourself, like me, like you, like all of those that are participating here. And it's not just here, it's happening in other places. We're going to have to take this country back by standing together. We're not trying to assert our will over anybody's. We're trying to restore our republic.
Right. Well, I mean, if they want to come over here and live that way, that's fine. But, respect the fact that we live the way we choose to live as well. I mean, that's just but our government is not in that mode right now, I don't think.
Well, it's kind of odd because I have had the opportunity to travel internationally, so I know what it's like to be in an American in a different culture, and I never expected them to accommodate me and start speaking English.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
I never expected. Right. I never expected them to adjust their, way of doing business to accommodate the way we do it here. In fact, I remember on in the orientation meeting for a bus tour of Europe that my wife and I were fortunate to have the opportunity. It was right after Princess Diana had died. At the orientation meeting, the cruise director, or the tour director, as a bus tour, said, first of all, you came on this tour to see things different. If you wanted things to be like they are at home, maybe you should have stayed home.
Right.
Well, I think when immigrants come here from other cultures, I think it's a good thing that they celebrate their culture. I really do.
Right.
And be proud of their culture. But they need to understand that they are not there anymore. They're here. Right. And we need to be hospitable and we need to welcome them, but they need to assimilate. So it's
I mean,
not
the
a
whole
matter
point of
of
being here is
hatred. Yeah.
Right.
We cherish all freedom, the freedom of Muslims to worship in the way they worship.
Right.
But that does not mean that we can't worship the way we worship. And if they have a law that's different than the law of our land, well, the law of our land prevails. And if we stick together, I think we are seeing an awakening. I hope we are. It's long overdue.
Right, most definitely. Well, and I think if Ted gets into the White House, we'll have more of a Billy Graham type revival. I hope it's kind of what I'm picturing and envisioning that might happen. So
it's long overdue, and
right,
I think that if you look, at the scriptures, I've kind of checked out the resumes of some of the people that God used, and I don't think I would have hired them. Mm-hmm. Okay, God doesn't call the equipped; He equips the called. And I think that we need to think of ourselves as being called to a mission, and it's really not a matter of what I think. It's a matter of what God thinks, and we are on a mission as Christians. And the question then becomes, how good of a job are we doing in our mission? So with that, I think there's a motive. We have the motive, we have the means, and we have the opportunity.
Right. Exactly.
And it's up to us.
I totally agree. I think there's just a lot of us that thought, well, somebody else will do it. And now we're realizing that that's kind of how we got in this mess, is people, don't stand up and voice their opinions and speak up for the Lord. I mean, I know myself, I'm guilty of that. I'm really basically pretty shy. And so it's hard for me to talk about that sort of thing. But as I've gotten older, I've gotten better at it because I know it's my responsibility to do it. So,
well, you make a good point there, Cindy, because, all of us have some fear, some reluctance, to step up. But I'll share with you a story. On that bus tour of Europe, it spanned some 3 weeks. I was on the bus, and it was Sunday, and I realized that I'm not going to be in church today. There's no opportunity to be in church today. So I did something that was, I don't want to say it was brave, but I was afraid. But I did it anyway. I started at the front of the bus as we were traveling, and I walked down that aisle, and I told everybody at the next stop, whenever, wherever that is, I will be over to the left as you exit the bus, and we will hold a brief devotional and have a hymn if you would like to. And I was afraid to death. I mean, I was thinking they were going to, what do you mean? Well, I didn't know what was going to happen, but sure enough, the bus did stop at some point, and so I exited the bus and went over to the left, and virtually everybody on that bus joined me.
Really? That is awesome.
Oh, and from that point on, Christians were everywhere on that bus. All of a sudden, when we all went to a place to eat, they'd say, "Mark, lead us in a blessing." My point is this.
Right.
Your act of courage can very well enable many, many more who want to act, but they're just looking for someone to take the first step. It's like karaoke. Nobody wants to be first. But once you get a few people up there, all of a sudden, and several beers later, everybody can do it.
Exactly. Well, as I've gotten older, I've gotten braver, too. And I realize, I guess part of it may be just because, as I get older, I don't care as much what people think about me as I did when I was younger. But, I've done things like that, too, that I never thought I would do. And so, but I also think that the Lord enables us and gives us the strength to do it, of course, because He must have a purpose. He has somebody in mind that, you may touch, even though you don't ever know it.
You never know.
So, yeah, that's true.
Well, Cindy, tomorrow night, of course, tonight we watched the debate. Tomorrow night we're going to have our rally, and we'll have even more opportunities for people to call in. And I certainly hope that your courage in calling in tonight will be an encouragement to others to share and express themselves. And I thank you for all of your support and all of your participation. You're a valued member of the PJNet Cruise Crew team.